Adam here from Adam's Haunted Manor, and today on Haunt Wiring 101, we're going to learn how to wire up a wiper motor. The items you will need in this project include one wiper motor. Here I have two different types of wiper motors, one from the rear of a car and one from the front of a car. A 12 volt power supply. Here I have one that is 12 volt 5 amp. If you are unsure of the type of power supply that you have, refer to the sticker on the transformer of the power supply. If you look at the top, it will say input 100 to 240 AC volts, and your output is 12 volts DC 5 amps, which means that your consumption can be up to 5 amps. My power supply comes with a pluggable port at its tip. If you do not want to have to cut this off, then I would suggest purchasing an extra connector so that you can connect it to your props easier. These just come for about $2 on frightprops.com. Frightprops.com is also where I purchased the power supply and the black wiper motor. On your motor, you notice that there are 3 wires. You have a blue, a red, and a green. Your red is your positive cable, and the blue and green are both your negatives. Now, you would wonder, why do you have 2 negative cables? Well, this determines your speed of your motor. If you want your motor to go slightly faster, on 12 volt 5 amp power supplies, your blue cable will make it go faster, and the green one will make it go a little bit slower. The first thing that you're going to have to do on your motor is, if you notice, you have these little wires coming off. I need to recut these wires because they're a little bit old. Go ahead and grab yourself a pair of wire cutters. This was the only pair that I had in my toolbox for now, but regular wire cutters will work also. And you want to go ahead and cut the tips off of each one, just to make sure you're going to have nice fresh cable when you're doing the project. I'm going to do that to all 3. Now you're going to take your wire strippers. I just have a really old pair of wire strippers. The newer, cheaper ones will work also. And you're just going to want to cut off a little bit of wire. About this much will do. And then you're going to want to go ahead and twist the strands of wire together to make a nice tight bond. And you're going to do this to all your wires. Alright, now that you have all your wires stripped and ready to go, said we wanted to make it go slower, so we're going to attach the red into your positive terminal, which is, for me, the bottom one. On these little things there are a plus and minus to show you which ones, but I'm recording on my cell phone, so it's not going to show up that great. So what you're going to want to do is just stick it in there, and then you want to take a very small flathead screwdriver and screw these things down just to make them tight while you're running your haunted house or anything like that. You don't want it to slip out and stop working. Now I have my own pocket screwdriver here, but Fright Props does sell their own little pocket screwdrivers purposely made just for these guys here. And other, like your what are they called? The peekaboo controllers. They also require you to screw in like this. So it's always nice to have a nice little pocket screwdriver around just for the purpose of haunted house. Alright, so now we're going to tighten this guy down in there. And you can actually use a Phillips head pocket screwdriver in here. I just noticed the pattern in there. It is easier to use a flathead just in these guys because the flathead part is a little bit deeper cut out. Alright, so now I'm just gonna screw this guy in there. You want to make sure you get them pretty tight, but not too tight, because if you get them too tight, I have had a problem with the wire actually getting cut off. So you do want to be slightly careful when doing this. Alright, so now what we're going to do is you're going to take your power supply and you are going to just plug it right in. And now I'm going to plug this into the wall and your motor should start turning. Alright, so that is your slow movement. Alright, so now I have put the positive cable into the negative outlet and the negative cable into the positive outlet. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, if you notice, the spin is the opposite way now. Whenever you're working with a transformer like this, you always want to make sure that if there is no power draw, or if you are doing rewiring, if this thing is still plugged in, or even if you do unplug it, there could be power still stored in this. And you always want to watch your green LED light, because even whenever you do unplug it, you notice it is now unplugged, but there is still the LED shining, and it slowly fades away. There was still electricity in this, and that still could shock you. So you always want to make sure that your LED light is turned off. Okay, so now I have taught you how to wire up the front windshield wiper, one from a website that makes them for haunted houses. Well, now let's get into something that's a little bit different. This one was actually made for a car, so therefore it's going to be different. We do have our little connector. You always want to make sure if you are getting one of these that you have wires after a connector, or you want to make sure that you can buy a connector that will fit in here that has wires, because these are the wires that you need. Alright, so I've been working with this motor here for a few minutes, and I think the actual motor does not work. Since the pink would be your positive power, and I followed it, it goes in this center here, I followed it out, and this would be your positive cable here. And then I followed your black cable, your main black cable would be your main negative, and then the green cable would be your slower negative, since it has to go through resistors and come down. So the only thing that I could think of would be that the only thing that I could think of is that the motor is seized, or this connector is bad. So this motor does not work, but it is basically the same wiring. So happy haunting, and see you guys next time.